Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the VectoScalar Tech Talk show. And as you know, in this episode, we are having an amazing speaker. You must be watching our VectoScalar Talk previously also and must have attended. So, we are coming up with a new feature. So, though you can always respond by giving your response in the comment box below, but in case you want to share your feedback over the WhatsApp, you can scan the QR code below through your WhatsApp. Just go to your WhatsApp, open the camera icon, scan this code, and you will see, just press reply to that button. And then whatever questions that you are having, you can put it in the comment box below. So let's start this amazing episode with another amazing speaker. In this episode, our guest speaker Tarun Bhargava is going to cover insights about aligning tech and leadership role with their personality type. Welcome Tarun to our show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vikas. Good evening, everybody. Happy to be here.
Thank you again. And for the benefit of our audience understanding, let me give you a brief introduction about Tarun Bhargava. Tarun Bhargava has emerged as a program, product, and people leader through his journey of 25 years in the IT industry. About a decade ago, he realized that his purpose of life is to contribute to the education reforms and industry readiness. He is presently serving as a career coach, leadership coach, and academic coach by helping students and working professionals, including corporates, by scientifically finding and get ready for their right career and is aligned to their personality, interest, and skill. He has worked with over 500 students and working professional, and his association with impactful organizations, especially Project Management Institute, Toastmasters International, Art of Living, and Master Networking Program has led to his transformation. That's an amazing journey, Tarun. So before we go, get into the exact understanding about the personality type, but share us with your journey in the IT industry and what all roles you have broadly played and what you learned from those roles.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's an interesting question. So I started my professional journey in 1997. My first role was that of a software developer, as many of us aspire to get into IT. So this was my dream too. Although I had a very valid reason. Programming came quite early to me. I remember before my first job, I had learnt about 7 or 8 programming languages. Although at that time there were not many object-oriented programming languages, but then yeah, programming is programming. So
Right.
starting from software developer, I went into project and program leadership, and then I also did product management and product leadership, and then people leadership is what made me realize my true potential. So it was a very fulfilling journey, and I've really learned a lot. In fact, since I'm committed to the cause of education, I do not hesitate in saying that all of who I am today is owing to all of my mentors, my leaders, and my colleagues. I've really learned everything from them.
Wow, that's an amazing journey. And I must say that when most people get this word education, people think that we are just talking about the early education. But people in our industry are already aware that when we are talking about education, it's a lifelong pursuit of developing yourself. So it's not that what you did in your initial 5, 10 years, 20 years. It's more about that how you can keep developing yourself so that, and especially in the current marketplace where things are changing at a fast pace, it's all required that one should have that learning mindset ongoing, right,
Absolutely.
Tarun?
Absolutely. The technologies have changed multiple times. The new lines of business, the new functions of business have arisen. So, obviously, I totally agree with you. In this industry, you ought to be learning all the time.
Okay, thanks for that. So now talking about the personality type. So we all understand the IT industry. We all understand the roles, different roles that are there in the IT industry. But the personality type is bit of a new word. So could you please share more details about what are the personality types and what constitute, what is more important and more about the personality types?
Sure. Absolutely. This was quite new for me. Although when I was in the industry, we often used to hear certain psychometric tests for
Yeah.
assessing our leadership abilities or various other traits. But I learned this more when I was transiting from my IT career to more towards enablement training and education. So we all know there are personality traits that we all carry, right? For example, some of us prefer being extroverted, whereas some of us are more comfortable being introverts. So there are various personality assessments in the world that help you discover yourself. Now, in the Indian education context, I've felt that while we strive to learn so much, but this aspect somewhat gets missed out. We sort of we jump to learn more new things. So there's a lot of focus on what to learn and its applications, but very less focuses about why to learn and how to learn. So that's like a classic example of a personality trait, right? For example, somebody would be a kinesthetic learner. uh, they would learn by writing. Somebody is an auditory learner, right? Some people are visual learners. So basically this type of trait is what helps you know yourself, and then once you know yourself, then the game changes. So I follow this personality assessment instrument called MBTI, which is called Myers-Briggs type indicator. This is a framework which has been there for more than 60 years in the market, and I believe it's one of the best instruments available today. This model, or this type indicator, helps an individual uh, uh, understand which one of the 16 personality categories does this person belong to. And this is done very organically, very logically, in the by means of identifying four pair of personality preferences,
Okay.
and I'll name them to you so that it sets some context. So there are four pairs of personality preferences, namely extroversion versus introversion, something called sensing versus intuition. Then there is the third one, which is called thinking versus feeling, and there's fourth one, which is called judging versus perceiving. Okay.
Okay.
Now, warning here, all of these terms are very, very commonly used terms, and often we don't know the definition of these terms in the technical arena. I'll
That's
give
so
a
true.
I'll give you a very, very simple example of extroversion versus introversion,
I
which
was
most
about
of
to
our
ask the same.
which most of our visitors would believe they know it, and I can tell you 90% of us don't know. So the difference between extroversion and introversion is not whether somebody can talk to the other people or not. It's the definition really boils to the fact that how do we receive and give energy. In other words, what is my mechanism of recharge? Okay. And if I'm fully recharged, even if I'm an introvert, I'll be very happy talking to people because I'm energy full, right? So there are very specific definitions of all of these eight preferences, the four pairs. And the whole analogy of MBTI is to help an individual choose one of the two for each of these four pairs. And that results into like 4 into 4 or 16 possible combinations. And that's why
Okay.
16 different personality categories.
Okay. So that's a interesting understanding. But just to reconfirm that the old school understanding that extroverts are good, people push, especially their kids, that okay, why you are such an introvert, go out and meet people because today's world require extrovert, and being an introvert seems like a weakness. That oh, my child is he's an introvert
A
or she's
disease,
an.
a disease in many ways.
Yes, people might consider it like as a weakness. So as per your definition or MBTI definition, that's not the case. Just wanted to reconfirm.
Absolutely, absolutely not. So I'll give you a very small example.
Yeah.
So I'm a hardcore extrovert. I would have about 5,000 people in my network. But when it comes to me needing help, so the top 1% of my network, the top 50 people who are my go to people, They are mostly introverts.
Oh.
So so it's not a problem, it's not a weakness, it is actually just a design. And if I utilize my trait as a strength instead of judging myself, then m- I would be on the next level. And ironically, this is true with all the four pairs. Introversion and extroversion is a very, very common example. But if I tell you about thinking versus feeling, this preference is in the context of how do we make decisions. So when you prefer thinking, you actually keep in mind the objective truth when you're making a decision. Whereas if you prefer feeling, then you are keeping in mind the impact to the people. So if you ask the world, the majority of the people would tell you it's obvious you should be thinking type. But that's
Mhm.
again a fallacy. In
Okay.
certain professions, if you are a feeling type, you can do wonders, right? Similarly,
Uh,
in certain
yeah.
professions, if you're preferring introversion, you can do wonders as compared to extroversion. I hope
Okay.
that's said some.
Definitely, definitely very interesting insight. But I can also relate to the fact that probably for some of our audience, these might be new terminologies. So we might be using these words, but understanding that how they play the critical role in the IT world or any organization. So to begin with, my next question will be: when did you discover your personality type, and how, first of all, it has helped you to take things forward?
Oh, that's a very, very interesting question, Vikas. So to be very honest, the first 15 years of my professional life, where I focused more in software development and project or program leadership, um, I today obviously I don't have hesitation in saying that those two lines of careers do not align to my personality. And this thing I discovered after I crossed the age of 40. And I'll give you a very simple example.
Sure.
Intuition versus sensing. Generally, people who prefer intuition are the creative kinds, right? Now, creativity, in at least in my mind as a student, was very, very well defined, and I was miles away from it. For example, if you ask a student, like, are you creative? So what are the checklist that we have at school time? Do you do drawing? No. Painting, crafts? No. Music? No. Cooking? No. Fashion? No. So everything we had in that checklist was crossed for me. And until the age of 40, I didn't even have a flare of an idea that I'm a creative person. But today I know I'm an intuitive kind, and I know so many benefits. So the difference was only one, that I accepted it and I did not judge myself over it. So I discovered all of my personality traits, and mind you, 3 out of 4 are not what the world would want. And with that help, I'm able to say that I'm happy being an abnormal kind. So
As the world understands it, as the world says.
as the world says, yes. Yeah, that's true. You see me at 2 a.m. at a traffic signal in Noida. You might just see me standing there if the traffic signal is red. That is absolutely abnormal. They don't stop even during the daytime. So that's my story. And the second part of the question, how it has helped me, I can't tell you. It's absolutely unbelievable. Today I'm doing a new type of work on my own. Entrepreneurship was not my cup of tea 10 years ago. Okay, and then if you go deeper, sales, not only it was not my cup of tea. If you did sales, I would have judged you 10 years ago. Forget about me doing it. Today I've reached that point that I often jokingly say that if you can convince me of your product or service, I can sell it to the world for you. Okay, now there's this line of if, okay, which is very important for me. If I'm not convinced, I cannot do selling to any individual. So this is all part of my personality. I need to be convinced of the cause that I'm serving. Okay, so that's the kind of benefit that it has given me. So all of the apprehensions I had about serving a cause that I deeply cared for, and how much I was holding myself back from doing anything, that has all disappeared. And today, for last 1.5 years, I'm not only clear about what and why of what I want to do, but it's a fulfilling and satisfying experience.
That's very powerful. That's very powerful. That one should be fulfilled in whatever they are doing, and the way you have seen that your personality type is aligned to the roles that you have done in the past and why they did not work, and then you align your personality type to the roles that you think are aligned to your personality, right?
Absolutely,
And it's much more
absolutely,
than the regular understanding of personality. People might attend a personality development program where they might want to show off or showcase the confidence. We are talking about something fundamental, something
absolutely,
very very at the cellular level, that the person whom they are. But Tarun, how, when it comes to the major role in the IT industry, because we are more focused on that, how it drives the business growth, how it helps you in the execution of a project. So especially when there are major roles in the IT industry, what do you feel that, like, what personality type is associated with different type of roles? Can you give us some example?
that's an interesting question. Okay, so I mentioned there are four pairs of personality preferences, right? So the middle two alphabets. So the second one was sensing versus intuition, and the third one is thinking versus feeling. If you combine these two, okay, so that makes it one, two, three, four possibilities: intuitive and thinking, intuitive and feeling, and then we have sensing and thinking, sensing and feeling. Okay, I'm sorry if it sounds any confusing, but there are four such pairs of the two pairs. Okay, four such
Yeah.
combinations of two pairs. Now those pairs, those two or those four combinations actually can be used to classify broad personality categories. Okay, so let's say are conventional, the fundamental roles which we take most common as the entry criteria in the IT industry, the software engineers or the architects or data analysts, right? So these kind of roles require a combination of intuitiveness and thinking. Okay, so intuitiveness makes it the creative side, and thinking makes it logical. So
Okay.
logical, analytical and creative. Okay, so that personality pair is the deadly combination for these roles. And when, say for example, if I'm setting up my own team, if I can do that kind of assessment, because see, I work with students as well. Now you
Yeah.
would agree that not many students have the right exposure of these careers, right? So they may just go for a technical role because that's the in thing, you know the money, the fame, and the lifestyle. But we often forget that if the role that I'm pursuing is not aligned to my personality, it will often lead to me facing challenges on a day to day level. See, the career is not about 2 to 5 to 10 years, it's about 30 years. I don't want to
Yeah.
get into a line where I'll feel suffocated, right? And I
Yeah.
told you, mine was that case, right?
Yeah.
Although at that time we did not have this kind of knowledge, so I'm sure a lot of people of my generation would have realized that they've gone in a different direction, right? So coming back, all the techie roles which require a little bit of creativity and the logical part is NT, intuitive and uh, thinking. Then comes a few of these roles that require very high level of observation. Okay, so the testers, okay, or the process engineers, or scientists, or even project managers, and this goes up till delivery heads. This combination requires more of observation than intuitiveness. So sensing comes in the place. So the N replaces with S. So it becomes S and the logic T. So ST. Okay,
Okay.
so if you have this combination, then these people will perform far more better. Now the difference between NT and ST is very simple. The people who prefer S as against N are more practical, hands-on people. So if they're working with equipments, if they have a very practical, pragmatic way of working, then S helps more. Okay, I hope this makes sense so far. So we've
Yeah,
covered
I
two
think,
of the four combinations. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
definitely from the audience perspective, I could relate that there might be more details because both of us have been into MBTI, so we understand and we
That's
can
correct.
quickly understand that aspect. But definitely for people, they might need some more time. And in between,
That's correct.
I see a question coming from Rohit that please share the email ID on which I can give the feedback. Rohit, you can scan the QR code down below, and whenever you have any feedback or question, you can use that WhatsApp only to also communicate with us for any feedback, any question, or in case you have anything else to share with us. So you can type in, scan the QR code below, and share your question. Tarun, before moving forward, I have a question which has come from the WhatsApp.
Okay.
So I have a question from Nikhil, who is asking, in your opinion, what are the three most important traits of leadership quality in a person? Most important leadership quality in a person, three traits.
Okay. So traits as in the usual
Personality
like
type, you can
traits.
say.
What is leadership, or with respect to the MBTI types? What do you
I
think
think
would be
you
the?
can relate more towards the MBTI because as that's
Okay,
a focus. Yeah,
that's the focus area. Okay. In fact, I was coming to that. So we've covered two of the four, the
yeah,
NT and the ST. Now
yeah.
let's come to the NF. Okay. So the N remains same, NT, but the T replaces with F. Now feeling
Okay.
is more about people, empathy, connection. So within the IT periphery, if you look at roles like UX, user experience, right, business analysts, product managers, marketing, coaches, right, uh, human resources, that those kind of careers go naturally aligned to NF. Okay, where we are in touch with the people, we have to demonstrate empathy and some bit of creativity. Okay, so those are the third category, which is NF. And the fourth category, which is called SF, sensing and feeling. So this will be a combination of hands-on, practical, with empathy and customer connect, right? So here comes the roles like sales, customer support. In product companies, we have account managers. All of those roles fall in this category. Now, I was thinking, where should entrepreneur come? And uh, all of my analysis refers that entrepreneurs is not like, it's not one person role.
Okay.
They have to keep switching their hats. So while so I cannot say that one particular combination would suffice all the functions of an entrepreneur. But if I were to look at two, my best guess would be the combination of uh, ST and NF, which is
Mhm.
kind of an opposite combination. But as entrepreneurs, I believe it's not one person's job, and there are a lot of functions involved in it. Okay, so with this regard, if we talk about leadership, okay, where I'm taking the essence of leading others. Okay, the word that comes to the one letter that comes to my head is F. Okay, now we have two choices with respect to that, NF and SF. So when it comes to, as I said, when it comes to roles like the account managers or the customer support, because we have to be very observant, S plays a prominent role. But say when it comes to in-house leaders, when it comes to who would be my mentor within my organization, I have seen more of NFs playing that role.
So mentors are mostly are having the N, which is intuition, and F, which is feeling.
Absolutely. So I've seen most of the people fall in that. It's just a coincidence that I fall in that category too. But for me, people who've given the maximum influence is those. But when it comes to business, when it comes to like a professional leadership, I feel sometimes S plays a vital role. and therefore roles like account managers or customer support uh,
Okay.
or sales, that falls more in the SF category. I hope that answers a bit.
Yes, that answers to a large extent that what are the different personality types. I have a question coming from Khyati, that how can we know if we have that thing that makes a great leader? Is it related to the personality type? So you mentioned there are few personality type which seems that could be more beneficial as a great leader, but how does, first of all, probably how does one assess their personality type? Is it that only by going through that MBTI they will get to know, or there is some other method as well?
See, like I am a certified professional of MBTI from MBTI. Okay, so when you get trained, okay, you get that ability to help others discover their
Yeah.
type, right? But the most common, the logical steps are you appear for a MBTI assessment, and then have a certified professional validate and interpret. Now, one of the things that we often miss out in the industry is the validation and the interpretation part. Now, in my case, I had a very clear why of entering in this domain. Say
Okay.
for example, when I'm helping working professionals, establish in their next level of careers. So what, it does not excite me what answer they've found in terms of the career choices. Okay, so that doesn't excite me. What
Mhm.
excites me is when I see two things getting met. One, the purpose as to why this person has chosen that, and second, the accountability, the ownership. Okay, so that's why sometimes I call myself as a purpose and accountability coach. So for me, accountability is very important, and for that reason, I will never give anybody an answer as to what is your type. I would make you discover your personality, and that's why my interpretation and validation goes a little longer. But then the whole
Mhm.
idea is that really makes me satisfied with the work when you tell, oh, now I've understood it all. And therefore any inferences, whether it's about career choices or your own improvement for the next role, you would automatically own it up. So the best way is to sort of take that assessment. There are a lot of tests that are available with MBTI because it's a 60-year old assessment. In India, there is this organization called Anahat, which is the official MBTI partner. So Anahat, you can go to their website, you can apply for the test, but normally they would expect you to come through a certified professional, because
Okay.
they are also very clear that we don't want to give you the result just like this. We would want you to be handholded by a professional in order to validate. 50% of my clients get their personality changed during validation, and that's definitely a possibility.
Mhm. So when you
That,
say that personality gets changed, is it that we are actually changing our personality, or you mean that assessment that
yeah,
has
yeah.
come through
So
the initial versus when they go through the
absolutely, the
evaluation?
latter. Yeah, the latter. What happens is, our brain. So this is a psychology observation that I've had. Our brain is tuned to attend the MCQs in a one particular way. Our brain
Okay.
knows that there is, if there are four choices, our brain knows there is only one right answer. Now, if I give you
Mhm.
a question of how much do you procrastinate, now your mind or your heart would say, oh, all the time. But then your brain will say, no, 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 but that's not the right answer. The right answer is never,
Mhm.
because that's the ideal answer. So sometimes when we are
Yeah.
appearing in a psychometric test where all the choices are correct, there is no wrong answer. You have to choose your right answer. Once you try to do that, sometimes our brain may play the game and you may choose incorrect answers. That's why what I meant by change in personality is, during interpretation and validation, many a times the my client would say, no, but I don't relate to this as much as I relate to that. And I say,
Yeah.
that is absolutely fine. We've been trained to help that happen. Of course, we have our
Okay.
own, I have my own validations for that, but as long as it's coming from the source, from the person, I'm very happy to support that.
Okay. Okay. So I see there are similar questions coming from. So Kritika Rana also asked that how can someone discover their personality and find a suitable career? Whereas I just talked about Khyati, and Mahima is asking that there are many MBTI type. Which type is more likely to be a great leader? We already discussed that part, that there are different combinations, there are preferences, but people can definitely learn. So a combined question. Pankaj Singh Negi is also asking that question on the WhatsApp code that is being showed here, that how can I identify which tech role suits my personality best, and how should I approach learning and growing with those roles? So probably if you can answer this in the summation, that first is the identification part, and then how I can align my career, which is the topic of the today's tech talk, that how as an individual I can find that my tech, my role.
Sure, sure. So I'll quickly sort of summarize the entire thing. So
Yeah.
number one, first we have to understand that all these 16 personality types are normal. Okay, none
Mhm.
of them are defective. Okay, the only place where we can have a utility of it is the alignment with the careers, because all careers have different expectations, right? So where we have this requirement of being creative, and then have logical, the work is logical, like we see in software engineer, or architects or data analysts. So that sort of makes the combination of N and T. Okay, so N becomes my second alphabet, T becomes my third. Okay, the first alphabet would be either E or I, extrovert or introvert, and the last alphabet would be J or P, judging or perceiving, but my center two alphabet should be NT. For that kind of role. Now the moment I get into something else which is more customer facing, like a customer support or an account manager, now more than logic, I need to have empathy, I need to be a people person. You see, it just changes the game, wherein every decision you take, subconsciously you have in your head that, oh, what impact would it have on the client. Now this thing is very difficult to enact. If I'm a
Okay.
T type, for me it becomes a pain to think like F. It is almost like it is a crime to be an F, when you are a T. That's how we are built differently. Okay,
Okay.
so either in that case, if I get in this situation where I'm a T but I'm in a role where it requires an F, what I could do is I could have one of my team member who's an F partner with me. So it's very important for me to understand that I cannot replicate the other person, and that is the biggest crime we do in this world. So if any of us feels that we have not reached our fullest potential, I am
Mhm.
almost 90% sure that we are trying to be somebody else, and many times it is our role model. That is not what you have to do. Okay, so first thing, as I'm repeating, there's no wrong type. Everyone is normal. Imagine 16, right? So if there are a billion people on the earth, so you just divide by 16. So we have so many people. Of course, it's not evenly divided, it's not evenly distributed. So certain personality types are more found more often with more frequency than the others, but still it's enough to absolutely conclude that there's nothing called an abnormal thing. Okay, now comes the point of what role I'm playing. And if you're aware of what role you're getting into, so the one
Mhm.
thing which often students miss out is having a clarity of the career. So what exact activities do I need to do? What are the outcomes? I'll give you a very simple example.
Sure.
UX, user experience, where we are supposed to design the look and feel of the apps, is often seen as a work of a creative person. I have not heard it from many people that the primary skill, and in my opinion, it is even more important than the creativity, and that is the empathy, because I need to design it for a user. And if I don't understand the user persona and their requirements, I'll not be able to do a fine job. So that's why
Okay.
UX is more aligned, should be more aligned to business analysts and the product managers than the technical team. You see, so first you have to understand what is the role requirement, and second you have to understand yourself. And once you are able to align both of them, you should not try to cross the line, because you will more often find yourself in a difficult situation. So that's
Okay.
really what I would like to mention as a takeaway. So there's nothing wrong.
Thanks for pointing that out. I have a question coming from Harshit Goyal, that how do different personality type technically approach problem solving in a tech environment? So as an engineer, when there are different personalities, do we see different ways of problem solving being applied by different people? Do you see that?
So,
Can you give
so
me some
normally, if I go back to my days, when we started programming, so back in those days, very, very few people knew about this whole knowledge base, right? So, one thing which happened positively was if you have a combination of people, if you are like a four people team who have say, who fall in all four categories, and you build a camaraderie, then you get a lot of benefits because you can just get it reviewed from your colleagues, right? But to answer your question, yes, uh, internally or subconsciously I have a way of working, and that is how I feel is the right thing. So for a person who prefers F, he or she would like, for them a decision is right only if it has been kept in mind how the people would feel impacted. Whereas if a person who prefers T would say, where are people coming from in this, we need to take a decision, we should only take which is an objective truth, doesn't matter how it impacts people. So that subconsciously, yes, there are multiple ways of problem solving happening. And at least back in like 25 years ago, we did not have any awareness in this. Forget about others, it was not even having we were not even having awareness at our level, and we used to judge ourselves, and that was the problem. Today, if
makes
you
sense?
know this, like today when I know this, I still know so many limitations I have, and I can absolutely shamelessly talk about them because I don't see them as defects, I see them as part of my design, and that makes all the
Great,
difference.
great, great. Thanks, Harshit, for asking your question. I hope your question is answered. Tarun, I have got another multiple set of questions, and they are similar in the nature. First of all, Pranjul Pranami is saying that how can HR departments use personality assessments to create balanced and complementary teams? So you just talked about that ideally there are different type of people, but is it the responsibility of the HR or the project manager who is managing the team? And then a similar question coming from another person, that how can we understand personality and enhance that team dynamics and collaboration within project? So is there
Beautiful.
that certain few people who are more team oriented than others? So can we, if you can
Absolutely.
have a combined answer or individual
Sure.
answer for these questions?
Sure. I mean, very, very valid points. And yes, the answer is yes for everything. See, the HR, I would say between the hiring manager, the guy who's managing the business and the team, I would say I would not give this task to them. I would rather say if HR or senior leadership can implement systems in place where
Okay.
while because they know the job description, right? For each
Mhm.
requirement, each job, we have a job description, and
Yeah.
that internally can have those types identified, what type would fit the most. And then during the interview process, during the screening process, we can have these assessments built, and a lot of corporates do this. Okay, a lot of corporates do this. I've seen MBTI more in corporate world than at the time of the career selection when we are students. So
Okay.
it is used in many, many corporates. If that happens, there is a very good chance that the person would feel naturally inclined or aligned to the work that would come in. Okay, and then the second part of the question, which is brilliant again, a lot of places we work as team. Okay,
Yeah.
even when I remember when I joined the software team, we were about three people, which and the team got expanded eventually to I think about 50 plus. So obviously there's a lot of team dynamics in there, and while again there are different, each person is playing a different role, while
Right.
that is the best bet. But suppose if we are not able to do that, as long as there is variety, we make combination bases, different personality types, that will do magical. Because say, because if you and I are team, and if we are different
Yeah.
personality types, as long as we understand that you are different than me, and if we can, instead of judging each other, we can use each other to take help. And I say, look, I'm a F dominated, I've done this, can you review it because you're T dominated? So Vikas could do that job very well. So yes, that's a brilliant idea. Because the only problem there is, as I said initially, for a person who dominates F, prefers F, he or she would think being a T is a crime. So it also requires a little bit of sensitization, that just because the other person is not like you, please don't fight, please don't think either he or you is wrong. It's just we need to be in that awareness that there is variety in the world. And the best way of dealing with it is 1 plus 1 equal to 11. And that's the
Yeah.
mantra we've been following in our corporate journey.
That's a beautiful inspiration that 1 plus 1 is 11. And also, probably in our regular terminology, we just say that, okay, the person is having a positive attitude or negative attitude. That personality type is just deep, much more deeper than saying it's positive or negative. There are
Absolutely.
different personality type, and we might be seeing the intention that, okay, person is doing that intentionally. He is not or she is not having the positive attitude, but there might be more dynamics that are being played. So as a probably as a manager or as a leader, it's very important that we start understanding those dynamics, right.
Absolutely. Bingo.
True. True. So Tarun, when you serve as a consultant to the tech organization, how that journey is assigned, how do you work with, and what are the changes that you have seen happening based on your past experience?
Sure. So I've worked with working professionals as well as entrepreneurs, and
Okay.
given that I've done a lot of deep research into the different personalities, once I get to know your type, it
Okay.
becomes very easy for me to solve your problem. Like, I'll give you an example. So there was
Sure.
once an entrepreneur who was facing a bit of challenge. Some of his core team members had left, and it was a small team, and he was facing some challenges, and he stated those challenges to me. And I've known that person for a while, but the first thing I asked him is, I need your MBTI type,
Mhm.
right? And once we completed that process of his giving an assessment, and then we doing the validation and interpretation, then it was like within an hour I was able to solve his problem. Now, his personality type, and since we spoke about the middle two alphabets, so I'll say NF was his combination. Okay. Now, I told him, basis his personality, he just needs three things in his career. It was so simple. Like, it's just like making a tea. So these three things, I mean, for the sake of example, I'm telling you these three things. Number one, I told him, your personality type requires you to be working on a cause that you deeply care for. And that was like a tick, because the kind of business he's been running, he's very passionate about it, and he loves doing that. So that part was tick. Now comes the other two things, and that's where he got the solution to his problem. The second thing that he requires is innovation and creativity. Now, certain personality types, if you tell them what to do and you also tell them how to do, they would not be able to work. And this is true with me. Like, I may be able to solve very, very complicated problems related to education, but if you tell me, Tarun, tomorrow you just have to go to a bank and serve as a bank cashier, I'm sorry, I'll not be able to do it.
Mhm.
Because the scientifically or psychologically, how I operate is, you give me a work and don't give me complete requirement, you give me contextual information. My brain has to first start working, and then I get in that mode of working. Right. Now, in a case of a cashier, it's a no-brainer. You just have to sit in the counter, people will bring check, you validate it, and then you give them cash. And I can't do that. It was a similar case with this person I was working with. So I told him, you have to have innovation and creativity. Again, that was a tick, because his business was that of marketing and public
Mhm.
relations and branding, and that had a lot of creativity. Now
Yeah.
comes the third thing which solved his problem, and that is, this particular personality type requires him to work with people. Now, this type of personality, if you tell them, okay, whatever you're earning, I'll give you 10x, you have to go to Antarctica, sit there, and you'll not meet anybody for 6 months. And this personality will say, no, I'll die. So this personality needs to work with people. In fact, they need to transform the people with whom they're working. That's part of the process. And in this case, it was a problem, because he had lost a few people. He somehow started losing trust in the team, and
Okay.
that's where he started to take ownership of the task himself. So he was sitting in office for longer hours, which he can do, but doing it alone, not sharing with the team, was a problem. So I told him, if there are three things you're doing, you bring in three people, make them the main owners of those three tasks, and you remain on top of them. You be the supervisor, you guide them, make them do it, help them transform. That will just solve the problem. And in less than a month, he came back and he said it's sorted. So
That's
this is
powerful.
like a classic example, and
Yeah.
And this is true with every personality. We get that thing which is the fuel. So what I help them is, I understand their problem, I understand their type, and then I try to give them their fuel. I will never ask them what worked for me, and that will never happen because my style is aligned to my personality, your style is aligned to your personality, and that's how
Okay.
magic happens.
Okay, that's very powerful, and we definitely have more number of question in the pipeline. But in the interest of time, we have to close our tech talk for today. But having said that, I would love to understand any last message for the people, because definitely there is understanding human personality is one of the most complex thing in the world, and MBTI or any other personality assessment is just the tip of the iceberg. So, any last message for our audience to how they can leverage this kind of knowledge to do better in their life?
So I'll tell you what I've observed during my last few years working with all types of communities, students, working professionals, entrepreneurs, and
Right.
you may be surprised that what I'm trying to tell you now, what I'm about to tell you now, there's a lot of role of COVID in this.
Okay.
Today, the biggest problem that I'm seeing in people is self-worth, lack of self-worth. And whether it is the adults, working population, or the students, my favorite story, usually the startup story, is who created you. With students also, I take them through this journey of who created you, and of course there are multiple answers, and I eventually take them to this conclusion that God has created you. Okay. And then I say one line in Amitabh Bachchan style, that his made products are not defective. This is the message that I would like to give to everybody. Yes, it is possible that you may not be able to perform in the role that you are doing right now. It's possible that some of your colleagues or your managers are doing better, but trust me, it's not about your ability. It's most likely that you're not in the right role. So the first step, even before you know yourself, the first step is to establish a connection with the divine. And I know it's totally out of syllabus, I'm talking spirituality, but if you do that, if you are able to bring the self-worth, everything else falls in place. Otherwise, what would happen? Suppose I make you do that assessment and I share the results with you. You'll say, haha, this is not true for me. It's like being an Hanumanji, but until that Jamanji tells you your powers, you will not discover. And I'm telling you, the biggest hurdle today is that lack of self-worth. If we can somehow develop that trust on the divinity, if he's created you, it is absolutely impossible that you're defective. If you can just take away that one thing, and of course the nuances that we've spoken about, I'm available on LinkedIn, all of the social media. I would be happy to help anybody who has any logistical issues or any problems going in their life. It's not that difficult, but first step is to have that self-worth.
It's a powerful ending for today's tech talk, that first understand your power and just have that trust that okay, if the person who made you is even better than Six Sigma. So right, so it's much beyond that. So have that trust. And you also talked about we see that tech has a relationship with the matrix. People who have seen matrix can see that correlation. So knowing yourself or knowing the spirit is kind of a similar thing. From the similar space, we understand that aspect. Thanks, Tarun. Thanks for sharing these many insights with us. So I'm sure the founders and especially the tech leaders have got that insight that just by tagging things that it's right or wrong is not going to work. You have to make things right, and to make things right, you have to understand what is going wrong, right?
Absolutely.
So to know and understand what is going wrong, one has to understand the people that they are working with and what's their personality type. Tool can differ, but one has to know their personality type, own personality type, their team personality type, to get the best performance. Thanks, Taran. Thanks for being on VectoScalar Tech Talk show.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much, Vikas.
And thanks, audience, for being such an amazing guest to stay. We had 100 plus people who were watching this show live, and I'm sure many more are going to watch this session later as well, as per past experience. You can always type in your comment in the comment box below, and we'll be coming up with another amazing speaker in our next week VectoScalar Tech Talk. Till the time, have a nice day. Bye bye. See you.